Lie easy in your bed and grow up strong. You'll be needing all your strength before too long, for you'll soon be on your way, son, fighting battles every day, son, with an enemy who thinks he owns the world. Stop your crying now, let Daddy dry your tears. There's no bogeyman to get you, never fear. There's no ogres, wicked witches, only greedy sons of bitches who are waiting to exploit your life away.
It's been the biggest win for our workers since the last May Day.
The Miscellaneous Provision Act, which bans 0-hour contracts, but it doesn't ban 1-hour contracts or 5-hour contracts or 10-hour contracts, so it's a step in the right direction, but it's far from the perfect act. We have to abolish all anti-trade union legislation. We have to get full union recognition, full union access and full collective bargaining rights, which we don't have.
The most pressing issue facing workers is housing, obviously. My guesstimate is at least 500,000 people in this country are living in housing which is causing them huge distress.
27 families, right, who are going to be, are being evicted from private accommodation up in Inchicore.
The government introduced its housing homeless policy 2 years and 9 months ago, and every single month since then homelessness has gone up. And Dublin City Council predicts that homelessness in Dublin will continue to rise for at least the next 3 years.
While they're taking the HAP money from the state, the conditions of the buildings are woeful, but the landlord is still getting paid. So we have to do something about what this is happening. So I'm Rita, St Michael's, La Lucha, continua.
I think the biggest thing we've had has been the banded hours contract legislation that came in last March, because as someone who works in a bar and kind of in precarious work, it's been a huge boon in kind of organising and asking for things that should be common sense but have been fucked like in the last 20-30 years.
The problem about 0-hour contracts and minimum wage is that they've become sometimes no hours contracts, and minimum wage has become the maximum wage.
It's definitely been an improvement for workers over the last year, securing hours, allowing them to claim the hours that they actually work rather than being dropped down from 35 hours to 18 on the whim of a manager in the workplace.
It's been going on, it's been hatched now for 20 years. People think it just happened yesterday. But a piece of truth was seen in Venezuela yesterday. The true nature of the opposition. What they couldn't achieve through democracy, through sabotage or through sanctions, they've gone down their usual route of violence, and their paymasters are behind it.
Well, one of the big drawbacks for workers is they have voted, they've all agreed in December 2017, the PESCO agreement. And that's going to lead us more into the formation of an EU army. Now, just quite recently there, last month, the EU Parliament voted on the European Defence Fund. And this fund they voted on is 13 billion euros. That is going to go towards more research and development into new weapons of destruction, drones, weapons and the whole lot, like, you know. But EU taxpayers' money, Irish taxpayers' money, instead of going towards social projects that will benefit workers and the common agricultural projects as well, it's going to be diverted into military spending. So do workers want that? Like, and are they even being told this is what Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have brought us to? Like, you know, that we're building up a more militarised European empire.
The people have risen up against them. The people have come out so often to say, no, we don't want this. We want peace. We want to get on our own lives. We don't want to be in intervention from outside nations, particularly the US.
Now, where do you see going forward the biggest threat to workers? Is it the climate change, or is it the next economic crash? What do you think is the most pressing issue?
There is pressure internationally, but again in Ireland, there is pressure to keep wages down. As wages go up, the companies talk about loss of productivity. And so there's huge pressure, downward pressure on wages.
Climate change is a huge thing, and it could cause like the extinction of our species. So like we have to be working on that. But it's going to be very hard to really mobilise that unless we get our basic fundamental rights down first, and like we improve our working conditions, our living conditions, and our wages first and foremost.
Father McFerry's talking about it is the provision of housing, public housing. It must be enshrined in the Constitution. Workers must keep up the battle to ensure that the right to water is enshrined in the Constitution. It's very, very important that workers stand together, don't be sectarian. We must all work together and build a better Ireland for us all.
The biggest threat going forward for workers has to be the looming economic crisis that's on the horizon. All the major financial news outlets across the globe, the New York Times, the Financial Post, everyone is predicting the next economic crash coming soon, next year or the year after. So we've already saddled our nation with debt over the last 10 years. There's no safety net. This time we'll be properly screwed.
The biggest challenge for workers is to get themselves organised, as far as I'm concerned.
Join a trade union.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's no bogeyman to get you, never fear. There's no ogres, wicked witches, only greedy sons of bitches who are waiting to exploit your life away. Don't you let 'em buy